welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenido to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. You're the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful October the 13th, 2020. Grando Deportes, bonjour, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, we're trying to figure out sports and COVID down here in the South. We got games being played tonight in the NFL. We got college games being canceled on the weekend. But I also want to extend a thank you to our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, our doctors, our first responders. They never cancel. They're playing every day.
They play every day, Big C. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, just tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also all around the world. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away, and I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Big C, I love the fact that we never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones. Why is that so important to you, Big C?
Because we need it to be important to all Americans, Charlton. We lose some 24 veterans a day to suicide. And think about the even more horrific numbers of veterans that we're losing, Charlton, due to COVID-19.
Wow.
The National Suicide Prevention Hotline number has been a lifeline for many Americans as well as veterans, Charlton, to get that mental help that they need. Our veterans suffer financially, mentally, and physically every day. And so many of them have turned to suicide, a horrific number that the administration never addressed.
Yep.
The National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton, is one of those ways to help stem the tide. We give it out. We need it to be more of a concerted effort amongst all Americans. I know people are going through hard times and struggling now through this pandemic and loss of jobs, but we're losing our veterans who gave us an opportunity to live in this great country. Don't forget to give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number.
I love giving it out, Big C. I mean, everybody should give it out. Give it some people some help. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can get to some help. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants, and the Say Hey Kid, as well as a home run leader, Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell him Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country to put people back to work. McDonald's does it, car dealerships do it, and sports teams are doing it too. When they're not on pause, you can watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, just go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com and get some help. Big C, you ever think about times when you ever forget something? Like sometimes I'm looking for my car keys and I'm in my car looking for my car keys. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm trying to find my car keys and they're already on me. Do you ever forget and you already have what you're looking for, Big C? Your thoughts?
I forget my glasses periodically, and they'll be sitting on top of my head. I mean, that's an innate tool that we all have, is that we forget.
Yeah.
And if you can't remember, or if you don't want to tell the truth, just say, I don't remember.
Just say, I don't remember. Sometimes it works for people. I know a lot of people only care about shutting up and dribbling, but we're just not that kind of sports program. I was watching some of the Senate confirmation hearings for what, Donald Trump's friend Amy Comey Barrett. They say she has such a great memory, but when she was being grilled on the stand today by Kamala Harris, VP candidate Kamala Harris, it's conspicuously convenient when she can't remember conversations that she had with POTUS that said her memory's so good she could even sit down and have confirmation hearings without a notepad. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's no different than in a White House press conference when a reporter asked the president, does he have any regrets for the thousands of lies that he's told American citizens since he's been in office? He said, what? And he said, you. He's like, who? You. Next question.
Yeah.
And this is what politicians do, Charlton.
Yeah.
People of power are not always going to be honest.
Yeah.
It seems that way, but once you get to that point, you don't have to answer to people.
Yeah, it's all fair and love and war. She says she can't remember if he talked to her about the Affordable Care Act and how millions of people will lose insurance if she goes forward with what she already put in writing that she'll do. And as far as women having the right to choose what happens to their body, she says she'd rather have old white men decide that. See, that make any sense to you?
Well, that's the way of America, Charlton. I mean, pay attention to the Constitution.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Old white men deciding how everyone lives in America.
Yeah, and now women they can't wait to get back into that saddle where they can be told what to do. It's all fair and love and war. That's why people just got to get out and vote. I mean, for people that say voting's not important, I have too many things on my mind, I don't have time to go down and vote. And now they're going to have old white men deciding what happens with their lives. I'm just going to tell people, please get out and vote. You can text the word vote to 26797. Text the word vote to 26797. You got to get registered. You can't vote if you're not registered. Tell all your friends that Big C in the NFL said vote. Make this the biggest vote in the history of the universe. Really appreciate that. Also want to ask people, as you follow Big C Sports, we're on so many apps, it's hard to keep up with them. But normally, if you just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast or Spotify, you'll have the app pop up. So just download the app on your phone, and you can hear Big C's thoughts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's all fair and love and war. Big C, I want to get into some NFL football, the top 10 rankings. Man, it's just my opinion. But sometimes you rank somebody and then they fall off the mountain the next week. So it's not my fault. They can't blame me. And if they ask me, I'll say I don't remember. I want to start from 10 to 1. Just my opinion. Big C's top 10 NFL rankings. The Windy City finest, the Chicago Bears. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Chicago Bears are a surprising 4-1 on the season, Charlton, when you look at them. They haven't found the consistency on offense that they were hoping to have. Their defense has been playing well as expected. I mean, they got a bunch of superstars on that side of the football. They're still trying to figure it out at quarterback, and that receiving core is trying to come around.
Yeah,
so they're coming in at number 10.
Yeah, they are trying to come around, Big C. It's always easy to get around in that Windy City, pushing you around. I want to bring up to number 9. I thought Jim Brown put back on his cleats, but last I checked, Jim Brown doesn't run as fast as he did back in the 60s, Big C. But Cleveland, this is for you. Coming in at Big C's top 10 NFL power rankings, number 9. The Cleveland Browns, Big C, your thoughts?
Been 25 years, Charlton, since they've been 4-1 in the NFL.
Yep.
So this is a surprise to everybody. This is a roster that is loaded with talent on both sides of the football. It seems to be finally maturing with the coach Kevin Stefanski that got this team running the ball instead of trying to pass the ball.
Yep.
If the Browns can hold on, we're going to get new blood in the playoffs this year.
New blood is always good, Big C, in the playoffs, as long as you don't mistake it for catch-up. I want to bring up Big C's power rankings. Number 8 coming in, the Tennessee Titans. And when they're not testing positive for COVID-19, they're actually playing pretty good football. In Tennessee, from what I understand, is one of the rare states when you want a libation, you don't have to go to the store to get it. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Tennessee got off to a 3-0 start, and then all of a sudden they missed 2 games because of COVID.
Yep.
They had some 20 players test positive for COVID. They're playing tonight versus the Buffalo Bills, and they're still without 7 players from their active roster, Charlton. But the Tennessee Titans, this team made it to the AFC Championship team last year,
yeah,
and they picked up where they left off.
They picked up where they left off. You know, I'm telling everybody when you go out and watch the game, make sure you order the Big C Burger. It comes with exotic meats. It really is a tasty burger. And speaking of exotic meats, I want to bring in Big C's number 7 on Big C's NFL Top 10. That would be none other than the Los Angeles Rams. Big C, your thoughts?
You think about the Los Angeles Rams, Charlton. They've been playing tremendous defense all year. I know they have that one loss on their schedule But this is a team that reminds you of a team that from a couple of years ago that went to the Super Bowl
Yeah.
and lost to the Patriots. This offense is starting to click. Their running game is solid, and Jared Goff has not been making any mistakes.
Yeah, he hasn't been making any mistakes, Big C. I really like the way the Rams, they got robbed in Buffalo, but a lot of people get robbed when they're up in the great Northeast. Also, speaking of the Big C Burger and exotic meats, coming in at Big C's NFL Power Rankings Top 10 at number 6, the undefeated Buffalo Bills. Big C, your thoughts?
And this is not a surprise, Charlton. When you think about the Buffalo Bills, they made the playoffs last year. They were the second best team in the AFC East. And Josh Allen has really matured this year, getting into his own as a bona fide NFL quarterback. He's been in some of the MVP talks, but the defense has been outstanding, and they're getting their best challenge of the season tonight against the Tennessee Titans.
One of the top quarterbacks in the league comes from one of the smallest towns in California, beautiful Fireball, California, doing his thing. Also coming in at Big C's Power Rankings Top 10, there's something about steel. Steel keeps a lot of Americans working. Coming in number 5, the Pittsburgh Steel Curtain Steelers. Big C, your thoughts?
This shows you how great a coach that, Mike Tomlin is. This is a team that struggled last year without any solidification at quarterback. He went through 3 of them. But now that he has Big Ben back, Charlton, and he has a host of young wide receivers
They're good.
that are getting the job done, the Steel City is smiling right now, Charlton, although they jumped on their brotherly love in Philadelphia last weekend to keep them undefeated. That Steel Curtain defense, Charlton, is starting to mature. The Steelers being 4-0 in that division, you think about the division they're in. They're in there with the Ravens, the Browns.
Yeah.
This is a very tough division this year.
Yeah, it's a very tough division. Also, speaking of tough divisions, the Baltimore Ravens coming in at Big C's Power Rankings. And they're coming in at number 4, and I think they're going to be better if they just forget to schedule Kansas City for now. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they got to worry about a couple of teams within their division, Cleveland and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But, after that hiccup they had in Kansas City, the Ravens seem to have found their stride again. They're running the ball solidly. Lamar Jackson is hitting his open receivers, but that defense in Baltimore is what people don't talk about. They think about the electrifying plays that Lamar Jackson will make with his legs.
Yeah.
But that defense in Baltimore is better than their offense.
Yeah, they reminded me of the Ed Reed and Ray Lewis, and they also had a big guy that fell on Rich Gannon at the Oakland Coliseum. I think his name is Saragusa. That was an illegal hit. It took the Ravens on to the Super Bowl, but it's all fair and war. I do want to come in with ketchup on my hamburger, Big C, going to the Midwest at Big C's Power Ranking NFL Top 10. The Kansas City Chiefs, led by the great Patrick Mahomes. Big C, your thoughts?
They suffered their first loss in 11 months last week against the Oakland Raiders, Charlton, so they fell down to number 3. This is a team that, everyone was expecting to potentially go undefeated on the year.
Yeah.
But that's very tough in this day and age in the NFL. They have to shore up some things on the defensive side of the ball. They showed a lot of vulnerability against the long ball from the Las Vegas Raiders. But when you got Patrick Mahomes in your backfield on offense, every game is an opportunity for you to win.
It really is an opportunity. And speaking of coming in at number 2 on Big C's Top 10 NFL Power Rankings, when you go out and watch the games this weekend, make sure you order the Big C Burger. It really is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. And speaking of exotic meats, Big C, coming in number 2, the Seattle Seahawks. Big C, your thoughts?
This is a team that, has been escaping by the skin of their teeth, Charlton. They've had some games that have come down to the last minute this season. That defense in Seattle is probably the worst defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
They put a lot of pressure on that offense and Russell Wilson. And with all of what he's done, there's no reason why he's in the MVP talk as the best player in the league, because he's constantly having to bail out the Seattle team week in and week out. They got to pick up on that defensive side of the ball. The NFL trade deadline is 3 weeks away. They're going to have to shore up that defensive line and get some help on that side of the ball. But Seattle comes in at a solid number 2 in the NFL.
Yeah, they are very good. Imagine if they did not have Russell Houdini Wilson, whether it be coming in at number 1 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings, the top 10 team. None other than Northern California's finest. The great Green Bay Packers are also led by a good old boy that says, hey, just relax, Big C, your thoughts?
The Green Bay Packers, when you look at what Aaron Rodgers has done offensively, people kind of forget about how good that defense has been up in Green Bay.
Yeah.
They have dominated all their opponents on the defensive side of the ball. You have some outstanding players on the offensive side also with Aaron Jones at running back, who has really
He's
helped
good.
Aaron Rodgers out, buying him more time to get the ball down the field. He's having the best start of his career this season, Aaron Rodgers. And the Green Bay Packers right now are the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, they're really good. And Aaron Rodgers, we say men tend to get their act together when Love comes to town, and when they brought Love in from Utah State. Love actually played down in Bakersfield at Liberty High School in Bakersfield. His father's in law enforcement and went on to Utah State. And now he brought some love to Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers playing a lot better now that Love is showing up. That's Big C's NFL Power Rankings top 10 teams. It's just our opinion. But also our opinion is I'm glad that football is back, and I hope that we can keep a lot of players healthy. I got to ask you about the game last night, Big C. And you called it, you said the Chargers would push them close to the best NFL football. Los Angeles Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert played at University of Oregon Ducks last year, became the first rookie to throw 4 touchdown passes on Monday Night Football, but it was all for naught, Big C. The Chargers blew a 17-point lead on the road for the second week in a row, and they fall to the New Orleans Saints by the score of 30-27. It was an overtime game, but I like what Herbert did. He was 20 of 34 passing, 264 yards. The Chargers could have won it in regulation, but Michael Bagley missed a game-winning field goal. It was just 50 yards, and he was kicking them from 59 yards. It just missed off the goalpost. But you think about how good they've been on offense. They're just missing. They lost to Kansas City in a close game. Now they lose on the road at New Orleans. This is a team that's a lot better than their record, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at Justin Herbert, he's faced 3 former Super Bowl MVPs at quarterback.
Yeah.
Even though he hasn't gotten a victory, he's played them all close to the best. The problem is with the Chargers is that defensive side of the ball and special teams. This is a team that has lost 11 of the last 13 games that they've lost by less than a touchdown.
Yeah.
So this is a team that's on the cusp, but they're just not getting it done defensively. And you talk about the kicker Bagley. He missed an extra point that would not allow the game to go into overtime.
Yeah.
He missed a game-winning potential field goal.
Yeah.
That forced the game to go into overtime.
Yeah.
This is the same scenario that happened with the Kansas City Chiefs, where he missed a couple kicks, and that game went into overtime.
Yeah.
So when you think about that the coach is going to get a lot of the blame, it's time for him to change kickers if he wants to keep a job. You can't keep having a guy who is costing you victories week after week when the rest of the team is playing outstanding.
Yeah. I love the fact that kickers sometimes are just looked at, they're just a kicker, but they really are. They can keep you employed, and they can keep you in the chance, and at least in the hunt for a playoff spot. I got to ask you about tonight's game. The Falcons, they had their own challenges. I'll touch on them next. But the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans, they'll be playing just the second Tuesday game in the NFL's had in the past 70 years, Big C. 70 years. The only other time a Tuesday game has happened over the past 70 years, it came back in 2010 when the Eagles played the Vikings. And then 10 years ago, that game was postponed 2 days because of a blizzard was about to hit the Philadelphia area. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this game has been postponed because of different reasons. COVID-19 that has run rampant within the NFL. And when your roster has some 22 players test positive for COVID-19, you know that it's not safe to go on out and play that game. But you got 2 undefeated teams playing tonight. The Tennessee Titans, with a dominant run game, and that defense under Mike Vrabel has been very good the past couple of years.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills have been the surprise of the NFL, being undefeated. But the Tennessee Titans are a team that can run on the Buffalo Bills. When you think about having Derrick Henry in the backfield, Buffalo is not that good in the interior line in stopping the run. They're kind of smaller. So Derrick Henry is another defensive lineman running against defensive linemen.
Yeah.
So this should be a very interesting game tonight. I like the Tennessee Titans at home. They got some fans in the stands for the first time this season.
Really?
And I look for the Buffalo Bills to make their first hiccup of the season.
Well, I'm telling you, it's interesting. I can't wait to see what happens in that game. Players coming off of a disease that a lot of times the league just wants to hide. But that's my opinion. They like the way they hit CTE. But also, it's all fair and level war. I want to go down to the world of Atlanta, Big C. Atlanta is really a mecca in the United States, especially when I think they have the busiest airport in Jackson Hart Field, busiest international airport in the United States of America. It has a very progressive African American, population when it comes to politics. And I think about that beautiful stadium. Arthur Blank helped found Home Depot. He's finally fired his general manager and head coach in Atlanta. And he stated that this is interesting because you've been talking about this. I know Art Blank follows the Big C Sports Show because just too many things line up. You stated something that he stated just today, that Matt Ryan's future in Atlanta is uncertain and that all options are on the table. It's not fair when you don't point the finger at the person making the most money and has a hand on the ball of every snap and you losing dang near every game almost every year. At some point in time, you got to realize you got to trade in that old dinosaur and get something new, Big C, and he's leaving it into the hands of somebody else, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Matt Ryan's been around Atlanta for 13 years. I mean, he made it to the Super Bowl back in 2016, and everybody keeps talking about 2016. But his skills have diminished. When you look at the talent that has been around him, and he has not been able to execute with that talent to keep them winning the division, Charlton, you have to start pointing the finger at the quarterback. Everybody wants to say the defense, but the defense can only do so much. Just like in Dallas, the defense is bad.
Yeah.
But in Atlanta, when that defense has kept you in games and you have not been able to execute, and you're being an archaic quarterback, that style of quarterback is diminishing from the NFL. The lack of mobility. Everybody can throw in the NFL, but you got to have mobility in this day and age of the game because of the athleticism that's on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan, I mean, I see it as his last season in Atlanta because I can't see another coaching staff wanting to come in and build with an old system that's outdated if they hire a new coach in Atlanta. And Matt Ryan, as well as probably another half dozen quarterbacks in the NFL, are on their last leg.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you don't keep up with the times, and the Cleveland Browns have a better record than the Atlanta Falcons, that tells you something about Atlanta that was just in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And the only reason they lost is because they stopped running the football. And they wanted Ryan to be the MVP. And now a lot of coaches are being fired because of it. Atlanta's head coaching search, in my opinion, I want to give some thoughts, and you just tell me if you agree or not. 5 best candidates to replace Dan Quinn in 2021 and beyond. Eric Bieniemy, Kansas City Chiefs. Josh McDaniels, he's the Patriots offensive coordinator. Lincoln Riley out of Oklahoma, the head coach. He's wasting his time down in Oklahoma. He needs to be in the NFL. Then there's Brian DeBall, Big C, the Bills offensive coordinator. Brian Leftwich, the Buccaneers offensive coordinator. And then I thought about this as I thought about it yesterday. Honorable mention, Raheem Morris. He's the Falcons interim head coach. And if he has the trust of the team, and they just start running the darn football more, that might solidify his spot, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, all of those potential head coaches that could end up in Atlanta all have something in common. They don't utilize quarterbacks like a Matt Ryan, except for down in Tampa with Brian Leftwich, the system that he's been in for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
But they've all understood that mobility is the new era of the NFL. And that quarterback has to be able to move. He has to buy time for his offensive linemen and help them out when that breaks down.
Yeah.
And Matt Ryan can't get that done. So when they do interview a coach, they have to find out what that coach's thoughts are.
Yeah.
Atlanta's going to have to eat the bullet on Matt Ryan. I mean, they cut him. That's a $44 million cap hit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they should seek out a trade with somebody, pay half of his salary, sending him off somewhere. Hey, San Francisco may not be a bad spot.
Yeah.
The former offensive coordinators out there in San Francisco.
That's right.
When you think about Shanahan, that might be a good fit.
Yeah, and the 49ers made the mistake of not getting a mobile quarterback. The last time they had a good one was Colin Kaepernick, also Steve Young, and Joe Montana. They were all mobile quarterbacks. And I just, that's my opinion. I think at some point, Arthur Blank has to say, my team's more important than the feelings for one person. You don't have any wins. I mean, you owe something to your other players. That's my opinion. I want to ask.
The biggest problem, like I said, is the salary cap hit. He will be responsible for $44 million in dead cap. That means you can't sign anybody unless you can facilitate a trade with another team. That's always the problem when you sign a quarterback to a big contract.
Yeah.
Because it takes up so much of the salary cap money for years to come, is that you're stuck with this guy. It's the same thing you see in Detroit with Matthew Stafford and several other quarterbacks around the NFL. Because of those cap hits, they can't move these guys.
Yeah, he might need to get on a dating website where he can swipe left and swipe right, and maybe somebody will absorb the cap. Big C, women do it all the time. NFL football, the Washington offense, I like to call them Red Tails, versus the Rams. historically inefficient. Washington's Week 5 loss to the LA Rams, I think it's going to be forever be known as the game Alex Smith made his return in the NFL. But simply put, the Rams defensive front, they had his way with Washington all afternoon, and that's partly because, Alex can't get out of the way. He's a lot like Matt Ryan, and I hope his leg holds up, Big C, in my opinion. But for the game, Washington's offense mustered just 108 total yards from scrimmage. The team had 6 total yards from the second half. That won't get it done on any level of football, not even Pop Warner, let alone the highest stage in the sports, Big C. What makes Washington's offensive woes even harder to digest, in my opinion, is how many plays the group still got the chance to run. In the loss, the Washington football Red Tails, they ran a total of 52 plays. I guess Hoskins wasn't the problem after all. They averaged just over 2 yards per play. Entering the game, Washington made a major change on offense, inserting Kyle Allen, who got injured, and then Haskins ended up in third string. And then Hoskins was coming in off of his first ever 300-yard passing game. But Coach Ron Rivera, for some reason, he did what my good old boy down in Atlanta does. They want to hold on to their friendship with people. Rivera brought in Allen again based on his knowledge of the system, and they couldn't even manage what the guy on 13 is managing. Big C, your thoughts?
And that's the embarrassment about the NFL and shows the pure, and I'm going to say this, racism in the league, that a black quarterback has to do 3 times the amount of work of a white quarterback to maintain a job. You talk about Haskins coming off the game the week before,
300
he had over 300 yards in total offense.
Yeah.
300. And you say in this game, Washington managed 108 yards of total offense?
That's right.
They had 1/3 of the yards that Dwayne Haskins had the week before, and yet Rivera is talking about Allen had more knowledge of the offense.
Yeah.
And he could not even complete 50% of his passes.
Yeah.
So this just shows you the discrepancy in the league of how black quarterbacks are treated. That you can go out and have a 300-yard passing game and get benched. And no one's talking about benching Matt Ryan in Atlanta. He's 0-5. At least Dwayne Haskins has won a game.
Won a game.
Okay?
Yeah.
Against a $100 million quarterback.
Yeah.
So this just shows the improprieties that go on in the NFL towards the quarterbacks of color.
Yeah. Another quarterback in the NFL that's yet to win a game, Big C, $135 million, actually $137 million, Jimmy Garoppolo. He's been able to play, and he got knocked out in the first game and then benched in the second game, but he still has $135 million, $137 million on the books. And you got guys like Jameis Winston that threw for 5,000 yards last year. 5,000. That's a lot of yards. And he's 13. And you got guys that can't even throw for 100 yards in a game, and they're starting. We're going to take the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. And when we come back, I'm going to talk more about sometimes it's just time. You ever have times where you forget something, you forget where your car keys are, and you forget when you want to be the next Supreme Court justice? They say you have a great memory, but you can't remember the guy that interviewed you. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. There's so many apps you can follow us. I just ask you to download the app on your smartphone or your device and just download Big C Sports Podcast. It'll come up every time. Even got Michelle Obama has a podcast next to ours on Spotify, former First Lady of the United States of America. Big C, NFL, after missing out of the Hall of Fame for 2 decades, Tom Flores, has his time finally come? Tom Flores is down from the Central Valley, a town called Sanger. That's about 100 miles from where Josh Allen grew up, down there around Fresno, Big C. So some good old boys from the Central Valley. In August, Flores was chosen as a coach finalist of the Hall of Fame class in 2021, which means that when his name was brought up before the 48-member selection committee on the day before the Super Bowl in February, he only needs 80% of a yes or no vote. Flores is 83 years old, Big C, the first Latino starting quarterback in pro football, and the first minority head coach to win a Super Bowl. If he wins approval, he would become the first Latino head coach to make the Hall of Fame and only the 3rd Latino to make it, period, joining former Kansas City Chiefs and Atlanta Falcons tight end Tony Gonzalez, who also went to Cal Berkeley, and Cincinnati Bengals left tackle Anthony Munoz out of Moeller High School in Cincinnati and USC. His odds are promising, Big C, given the fact that the committee has traditionally rubber-stamped its senior candidates? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is long overdue as Tom Flores gets the nod to go into the Hall of Fame. When you think about his accomplishments as a player, as an assistant coach, and a head coach in the NFL, they're unparalleled. You got to realize also, Charlton, he's the Raiders' all-time winningest head coach.
Yeah.
So when you think about the great head coaches that have gone through that franchise, he's won more games than any other coach that has coached in that franchise.
Yeah.
And also won more Super Bowls than any coach in that franchise.
Yeah.
And Tom Flores has been ostracized from the Hall for too many years.
Yeah.
A couple decades is way too long to have kept this man out of the Hall of Fame, and yet you have coaches in there with lesser accomplishments than Tom Flores in the NFL Hall of Fame. So, they need to do it right. It's time to start recognizing all minority accomplishments when it comes to recognizing what has happened in pro football.
Yeah, and I think about it. When Tom Flores led the Raiders to the Super Bowl, they had a win over the Philadelphia Eagles. I still remember Bernard King taking a long pass to the end zone. He was thrown that pass by Jim Plunkett. I also remember when he won his second Super Bowl, they beat the Washington Redskins, and I remember Marcus Allen had that great run that he turned around, reverse course, and ran about 80 yards to the end zone, and then they beat up on the Washington Redskins in that game. Isn't it amazing when you think about two of the longest plays in the Super Bowl based on the Oakland Raiders? Marcus Allen with the run against the Washington Redskins, and then also Bernard King would have caught a long pass from a quarterback, I'm forgetting his name, Jim Plunkett. And they had a coach in Flores. You had three minorities that are involved with two of the longest plays in the Super Bowl history for the Oakland Raiders. And it's amazing that Flores and Plunkett, they're just forgotten. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when they talk about quarterbacks getting into the Hall of Fame, I know there's a lot of cry in the past couple of years about whether or not Eli Manning will get into the Hall of Fame with his 2 Super Bowl victories. Jim Plunkett has had 2 Super Bowl victories for 30 years, and no one is talking about him getting into the Hall of Fame, Charlton. And here it is, he's almost as old as Tom Flores.
Yeah.
And so that shows the discrepancy of minority quarterbacks and minority participation and appreciation in the league.
Yeah, and I think I said, Bernard, it was Kenny King that caught that long pass for the Oakland Raiders from Jim Plunkett. I mean, I just think it's time. The Raiders have moved out of Oakland. Isn't that a shame? They're in another state. At least give Tom Flores. I mean, it's amazing. The Raiders moved to another state before Plunkett and Flores, who won 2 Super Bowls with the Raiders, before they got a chance to get into the Hall of Fame. To me, that's just egregious. On Saturday, Big C, veteran Patriots defensive back Devin McCourty, he questioned how concerned the NFL is about the impact, and he should be, of COVID-19 on player safety. Remember, the concussion, they all lied about it. Throughout all of this season, it's been the realization that it's not a league-wide thing, Big C. It's kind of a team thing. And McCourty said that, per the Associated Press, that people that don't have to walk in your building, whether it's a league office or whether it's the NFLPA, they really don't care because they're not the ones walking into the facilities. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when was the last time you saw Jerry Jones down on the sideline
last year
during the game? He does not come down and mingle with his players any longer. And you just think about NFL participation in any aspect. You don't see NFL personnel going around the team. They're crying about players getting out there and playing and keeping the games going. But when you've seen the COVID-19 breakout and the league is still trying to find a way to get the game on instead of worrying about the overall health and welfare of the players, it's very true what McCourty said. The league is not caring. It's all about the bottom line dollar, regardless of what level of football that you're playing.
Yeah. I want to ask you about tonight's game. I mean, I thought last night's game with the LA Chargers and the New Orleans Saints, I thought it was just an amazing football game, especially watching Herbert go into the eye of the storm down in New Orleans and really outduel Drew Brees for a guy that's a rookie that was played at Oregon last year, and they missed a field goal and it cost them the game. But when you think about what McCourty said, no positive COVID-19 test for the Tennessee Titans and Buffalo Bills game. Think about that. The sources that say it's good to go, I mean, if there's no positive test in this game, we've had a handful of teams that have tested positive in their facilities. And I hear sometimes if you got to be quarantined for 14 days, POTUS said he had to get quarantined for 3 days with his COVID. Now he wants to kiss on everybody. Were you one of the guys that POTUS said he wanted to kiss at his rallies, Big C? Your thoughts?
I like orange chicken as much as anybody, but I like mine hot, fresh out of the chili.
Can you imagine how desperate the woman is that wants to kiss POTUS? Anyway, women do what they want to do, if that makes any sense to you. But tonight's game, you have Tennessee and Buffalo. And if we have what's happening in college football, that players, they're canceling games, we'll talk about that too. How confident are you if you're playing for the Tennessee Titans tonight or the Buffalo Bills, Big C, that they're so concerned they cancel the games on Sunday just to move it ahead 2 days, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, the NFL is getting these games in for financial reasons, and you should not be dissuaded by that this is what it's all about. It's not about the record. It's about the financials. The NFL makes $30 million per game that's played.
Yeah.
They're not passing on the money. You end up with COVID-19, they're just hoping you don't end up in the hospital.
Yeah, that's what they're hoping. And I just hope, as I haven't watched the game tonight, but I know they're playing it, and I hope that people can stay safe. And we do need transparency. But if Amy Coney Barrett can say she has the best memory of anyone POTUS ever met, but she can't remember what conversations she had with them, to me, a lot of times women say, I don't remember, I don't recall. It's all friend level war. I want to take you to a time long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. There's a pitcher by the name of Clayton Kershaw. He's a Cy Young guy, Big C, and he'll most likely be in the Hall of Fame. But it's like the last 3 seasons, whenever Clayton Kershaw pitched, he gave up yard. That means he gave up home runs, Big C. And the Dodgers ended up losing, even though he's their prodigal son. So the Braves from Atlanta, they spoiled the Dodgers' plan. They smashed their way into the NLCS lead. Nobody's been able to knock the Braves off of their confidence stride. The Braves are the last undefeated team in October, when you think about that. The Braves and the Dodgers each came into the NLCS with a 5-0 records in the postseason. And the Braves swept the Reds in 2 games in the wild card series, and then prevailed over the Marlins in 3 games in the NLDS. Think about this, Big C. The Dodgers swept the Braves. They swept the Brewers in the opening round, and then they swept the Padres, arguably the second best team in the NL during the regular season in the NLDS. Atlanta wins NLCS Game 1 thanks to a 4-run 9th inning explosion with the game tied at 1 at the time. The Braves are now 6-0 in the playoffs. But more important than that, Clayton Kershaw has just been told by the management that we don't trust you anymore, and I think they're right to say that, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I think it came up that, he had lower back spasms, and anybody who has lower back spasms knows what that's like. Keenan Allen left the game last night in New Orleans with lower back spasms, so it's debilitating when it comes down to an athlete. But Clayton Kershaw would not be the answer for the way that the Atlanta Braves are playing right now.
Yeah.
You got to realize from the 5th inning on in the playoffs, the Atlanta Braves have only given up 1 run in their last 15 innings.
Yeah.
Think about that. They've given up 1 run in their last 15 innings after the 5th inning.
Yeah.
So this team's pitching staff has been lights out, and they're getting timely hitting. When you think about what they did last night to the Dodgers when they go into the 9th inning and get all of those runs, to get the 5 runs in the 9th inning to solidify the victory, this is what they've done to their opponents all year long. And when you think about what their pitching staff has been doing, they've had 6 shutouts or 5 shutouts in the playoffs. 5 shutouts. So this team has been fantastic. And when you talk about getting hot at the right time, they call the city Hotlanta. That's the Braves right now.
I thought it was called Chicken Wings. Chicken Wings Atlanta. You say they changed the name to Hotlanta, not Chicken Wings Atlanta, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it's always been Hotlanta because of the humidity. I remember back in the Olympics in '96, how hot it was down there in the city, Charleston. It was blazing. But the Braves right now are just torching their opponents. The pitching staff, this is what you talk about at this time of the year, having pitchers. And their pitching has been unhittable, and they've had timely hitting from their players.
Yeah, well, I don't like to give out scores, but I hear they're going to have a lot of chicken wing parties if things hold up down in Atlanta the way things have been going. And the Dodgers, I think 2 things happened. Number one, they probably felt this was going to happen, and that's why they want to save whatever they could ego-wise. Clayton Kershaw, yeah, I'm sure he has back spasm, just like Amy Barrett can't remember what happened, and she says she has the best memory in the universe. It's all fair and love and war. And then you also have Tampa, and they're playing their game tonight with Houston. And I think Houston may have some problems also against Tampa. It seems like, I don't like to give out scores, but Houston, I know they just got underway. What chance do you give them winning tonight, Big C? They got to win tonight. If they go down 2-0, it's very, very difficult to come back. Your thoughts?
You know, when you look at Tampa, this is a team that's been hitting long ball. They've been playing long ball here in October.
Yeah.
And they've dominated all of their opponents with that, Charlton. They played some great defense, but they've been knocking the ball out of the yard. I believe they had 5 home runs in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
And this is how they've dominated Houston.
Yeah.
This is a team this is a must-win situation for Houston. If they don't win tonight, Houston can get ready to go play some golf sometime soon.
Yeah, they'll be hanging out with POTUS once he's kicked out of the White House. It's all fair and love and war. You know, I think about, and I really mean this, I love sports. And just because you love something, it doesn't mean that you want to do it or not do it when it's, not the right time or if it's dangerous for you. But think about this. NCAA athletes, they can soon transfer schools, and they can play immediately. That's according to proposed legislation that's sent to Division I council members this week. The council is expected to introduce the proposal into the NCAA's 2020-2021 legislative cycle at its meeting on Wednesday, Big C, with a vote coming in January for an effective date of August 1st, 2021. Under this proposal, developed by the NCAA Working Group on Transfers, athletes will be afforded a one-time transfer during their athletic careers without suffering the penalty of sitting out a season, and that reverses the policy of the 1960s. Big C, your thoughts?
And that's something that should go through. You punish the players, but you've never punished the coaches.
Right.
Coaches can get in trouble at a university, and they can leave and take a better job someplace else, and leave that university on suspensions and restrictions of scholarships, and that coach is never punished. But the players get punished.
Yeah.
And so now you're doing the players right by allowing these players to transfer and be eligible to play immediately. Players go to universities because they want to play.
Yeah.
They don't always go there just to want to sit on. Sometimes situations where you get into a recruiting class is just loaded.
Yeah.
And you see the opportunity is not there to play. You transfer. Joe Burrow is one of those recipients of that. He transferred, and look what happened to him.
Yeah.
At LSU.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray at Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. There's been a wealth of players that have transferred, but unfortunately they've had to sit out a year. Now that you can go in and have instant impact, just like Justin Fields did last year at Ohio State.
Yeah. Yeah, he did it. I go back to the days of the mid-'80s, early '80s. Troy Aikman was playing at Oklahoma, and he broke his leg in a game versus Miami, and then he got the chance to go out to UCLA with Terry Donahue and Barry Switzer. They had some things going on, and he became an All-American and played pretty good. I think he has 3 NFL championships, so sometimes going to a different school gives you a different outlook also. The Florida Gators, Big C, down in the SEC, this is one of your favorite conferences for some reason. I don't know if because they have better chicken wings or catfish, but I know something about the South you like, Big C. But it's a shame because Florida Gators, they stopped football activities. They put it all on pause. And they put it on pause not because they were beaten by Texas A&M over the weekend, and they complained that Texas A&M had too many fans in the stands, and they're arguing that they want more fans in their stands because they thought that's why they lost the game to Texas A&M. Well, just 4 days before they've scheduled to play LSU, the number 10 Gators, they put their football activities on pause due to COVID-19 outbreak. Now, this comes right at the heels of their coach saying they want more people allowed into the stadium because they want more fan noise, and they have COVID, and it shut down their program. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this has become a thing this week in the SEC. When you look at 2 other programs also, Vanderbilt as well as Missouri have closed their programs this week, Charlton, for COVID-19 breakouts. So this is tending to be a problem now in college football as we look more and more across the landscape. More and more schools are pausing their football activities. And I believe these are the 5th school this week to have paused their football activity because of COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, and think about it, Big C. The NBA just left Orlando. I guess the players flew out today. The Lakers, again, congratulations on their 17th NBA championship. And there were no positive COVID-19 tests that we've been told of. And then outside of that bubble, and Governor Ron DeSantis saying he wants to open up the state of Florida so that everybody can stop social distancing. You don't have to wear a mask because they believe that when POTUS lied to them again and told them that he had some miracle cure in 3 days, and now POTUS wants to go around kissing on people. This is the same guy that bragged about grabbing women by the vagina, and now he says he wants to kiss on women and men. Something's not right with him. That's just my opinion. But what do you say to the head coach of Florida now that he's following Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, and they have 19 positive tests over the past several days, and that's just one school, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Ron DeSantis last week lifted all restrictions in Florida about capacity in facilities.
Yeah.
Is that there was zero restrictions. And so now we're seeing the results of that on the campus of University of Florida. And you got to realize the number of major universities and even smaller universities that are down there in the state of Florida, Florida State, Central Florida, Florida A&I. And Florida A&I last week had to cancel their game because of COVID-19. So, I mean, as you look at this whole host of universities that are down there, and you're putting all these kids' lives in peril with COVID-19 for the almighty dollar.
Yeah, and the University of Miami, they just went up to Clemson, and they played like they were listless. I know people were saying, well, maybe Miami's in over their head, and they ran up against a great Clemson offense, and maybe they're not back to where they were when Michael Irvin and Benny Blades and Warren Sapp were running around down there in the Orange Bowl, Big C. But when you think about this, I'm just saying, whenever you go to the doctor and they take your blood and do a test or whatever they do to find out whatever's going on with all of us, whatever caused the results that they're going to tell us about, it happened before we got to the doctor. And I'm just saying, the same air that the University of Miami breathes, I know it's in the southern part of Florida down in Coral Gables, and then South Florida and Central Florida, and you got Florida State, and Gainesville, I think Gainesville has the University of Florida. They're just in northern Florida. But if this many players are coming in contact with COVID-19 tests, right as the governor takes all the restrictions off of keeping people safe, do you think that has a direct impact, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, no, because as you look at it, you were going to run into it anyway if you're in a football situation.
Yeah.
It doesn't come because the restrictions are lifted, because there's still no fans in the stadium. This is just about how you're handling yourself in your social life.
Yeah.
This is what it's affecting. And when people don't walk around and protect themselves with masks and social distancing, which you cannot do in football. I saw a hit in the game the other day when Washington was playing the Rams, when Jalen Ramsey came up and hit Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And you could see all the sweat particulates flying as they collided on the sideline as they had it in super slow-mo.
Yeah.
You're passing fluids back and forth between bodies every play.
Yeah.
So you can't protect if somebody has COVID-19.
So when the coach says he wants to see 90,000 people in the swamp for their game coming up, and obviously that's on pause, or maybe I'm naive, because, I might be stupid saying this, there's no way the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, is going to keep their restrictions lifted on social distancing and tell people, hey, it's all right, it's just a football team, Big C. Am I wrong, or will he keep it open, Big C? Your thoughts?
Didn't you just say that you were naive? Yes, the state is going to stay open. These are black athletes. No one gives a damn about that. Did you hear what McCourty said? That the NFLPA and the NFL owners don't care about the players?
Yeah.
So if you're talking about guys who are making millions of dollars and people don't care about them, you think they give a damn about some college athlete?
Okay, now, at what point in time will these broadcast crews decide that they're not going to send their broadcast brethren into these booths where they put up a plexiglass and they're about 6 feet apart from each other? A plexiglass doesn't protect you from an airborne virus.
You must not be watching the games, because 2/3 of the games that are broadcast from remote facilities. They are not sending teams into the stadiums. Only a couple teams have gone to the stadiums and broadcasted games. But 2/3 of these broadcasters have broadcasted from home with multi-television sitting around them.
That's not necessarily true, because I've seen even some TV shows where they're in the same studio, even when they had the NBA, when they did the NBA countdown, and they have Maria Taylor and They had some the Truth, and a couple other guys that were there. They were just about 6 feet apart. Now the NBA.
I didn't say all of them. I said
yeah.
2/3 of the football games that have been broadcast. You can check this out and verify it. The broadcast crews have broadcast from a remote location, not in the stadium. ESPN has done this. 2/3 of their broadcast crews have broadcasted from remote locations.
Yeah, maybe 2/3, but I'm talking about the people that go, whether they're 1/3 or 1/5. I know even in the NFL, there's a lot of broadcasters in the booth. And what is it the thinking about a plexiglass that's going to keep people from getting an airborne virus? That's like saying we're going to put a plexiglass in a smoking room and separate people who smoke from those who don't smoke. That doesn't make any sense. Big C, your thoughts?
No one is forcing these individuals to put themselves in that situation. If they choose to go in there, that's where they're going to broadcast the game from. They're given that option to broadcast the game from the stadium or from a remote location.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
it's up to the broadcaster.
Yeah, it's up to the broadcaster. It's all fair and love and war. As we mentioned, Missouri and Vanderbilt game, it was scheduled for Saturday, and Columbia, Missouri has been put on pause because they've had some more players test positive for COVID-19. And I think Vanderbilt's down to 56 scholarship players last week, and their 41-7 loss to South Carolina. And it's just, to me, I feel bad for a lot of these young players, African American, because they're sold this bill of goods that you're going to be able to be the next guy. We have a guy in Haskins that was All-American at Ohio State and drafted by the Washington Redskins, and he's already benched after being the only quarterback to win a game for that franchise. And now you have the next college player. You have also Joe Burrow, last year's Heisman Trophy winner. I know that he's a rookie, but he's won one game, and he's been knocked around in his series. So all these guys in college thinking that they're going to go take those guys' jobs and become multimillionaires, it would just make more sense if they waited a year until we get on top of this COVID as much as science can, and then get off the pause. Does that make any sense, or am I just naive, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they also look at the scenario that happened to Dak Prescott. You never know when injury may fail you, and that be the end of your career.
Yeah.
So it's hard for them to pass up on an opportunity they've been preparing their whole life for.
Yeah, it's amazing, though. I mean, I don't know what to say. Everybody's going to make up their own mind. But I do want to just wish everybody the best. And I know NBA basketball, again, congratulations to the LA Lakers for championship number 17. It's hard to win 17 championships, especially with as competitive as the NBA is over the years. And they won 11 since 1980, bringing in Irvin Magic Johnson out of the Michigan State Spartans. But I'm looking at a guy, and there's a lot of coaching vacancies that are out there. But I want to get your thoughts, too, because the Houston Rockets, there's talk that Tyronn Lue, may be the head coach. Until the ink is signed, nobody knows. I know Magic Johnson wanted Tyronn Lue to be the head coach of the LA Lakers, and then he backed away, so Frank Vogel got that head coaching position. But Tyronn Lue has been a part of 2 NBA champions as a head coach for the Cleveland Cavaliers when they beat the Golden State Warriors, and also as an assistant with the LA Lakers when they were able to win a championship over the Miami Heat. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it comes down to what ownership feels when they interview individuals. You have to have a relationship with the owner. We saw that with Arthur Blank today when he got rid of his head coach and GM in Atlanta with the Falcons, and then said the future of the quarterback was uncertain.
Yeah.
So it comes down to that personal relationship you have with the owner. It's not about the accolades that you have on the court as a coach or a player.
Yeah.
It's how you fit in that interview room.
Yeah, and in that room. And then with Tyronn Lue being an assistant for the LA Clippers under Doc Rivers, it's amazing. Doc Rivers is gone. He's down in Philadelphia, or up in Philadelphia. And then Tyronn Lue, if he goes up to Houston, who are they going to bring into LA for the Clippers? Because in my opinion, Kawhi Leonard, if they don't win a championship next year, I don't know what his contract looks like, but will he be motivated with Paul George to stay in LA with so much upheaval? And you have 2 coaches that have won championships that are going to be out and off the scene. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at player movement, it's about contract fit. It's not as simple as a player saying, I want to go. It's just like we were talking about Matt Ryan earlier.
Yeah.
You have to be able to make that fit financially within the salary cap. NBA teams don't all want to pay that extra luxury tax, which you would be forced to pay if you bring in certain players. And, it's no guarantee that whoever you sign as a coach is that you're going to win. It's
Yeah.
only going to be one team win the championship.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of recycling in professional sports over the years, and that's all it's come down to is recycling. Guys leaving one job, going to another job without having new blood infusion into the sport, and that's why it always stays the same.
Yeah, a lot of things stay the same, but things won't stay the same if you just get out and vote. Text the word VOTE to 26797. That's VOTE 26797. Tell all your friends that Big C in the NFL said vote. Also, there's a guy that we've seen on TV many times. He's also been an NBA coach, Stan Van Gundy. He's a candidate for the New Orleans Pelicans. But I like him on television. But of course, if they offer you more money to go coach guys who have a lot more money than you, maybe he will go. But he's been out of the coaching rings for a long time. They always use that analogy that nobody likes Mark Jackson because he helped the Golden State Warriors get to 50 wins. I don't know if Van Gundy's ever coached a team to 50 wins, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, like I said, this comes down to a recycling. You know, you got to look at new ideas. You always bring in the new players. You don't keep the same players on the roster all the time. Why do you keep the same coaches coaching all the time? When you look at the advancement of the NFL over the past couple of years and the infusion of new coaches that have never been head coaches in the past,
Yeah.
and those teams have become winners, that's what the NBA has to look at. Coaches that have not been head coaches in the past. Tyrone Lue wasn't a head coach when he won a title in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Eric Spoelstra had not been a head coach when he won the titles in Miami.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr had not been a head coach when he won the titles in Golden State. So these are the things that the NBA needs to look at, is that where are the new young minds at?
Yeah, and sometimes they're just waiting in the wings and their assistants, and people have to give them an opportunity. I want to close out with two stories, Big C, and I know we talked about NFL football. I wish for everyone to have prosperity in work and prosperity in life, but when you talk about a comeback, Alex Smith is favored by the NFL to be the comeback player of the year, and he's defied all odds. A lot of people say his injury was the same injury that Dak Prescott had, similar. I believe Alex Smith was his leg, and then you look at Prescott was his ankle. Prescott's going to be fine. Nothing happened to his upper extremity, but it's about how you just give your body time to get healthy. Give me your feeling now with Alex Smith coming back. Their offense could not move around. I think he was sacked like 8 times or 6 times because he could not get out of the rush like he did when he played for Kansas City and even in Washington before he got injured. Is at some point in time would you'll say we need to give Alex a chance to stay in there even more and get hurt? You can't get sacked that many times to stay healthy. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's not Alex Smith. It's the offensive line. That's how pathetic the offensive line is. You know, it was quick to blame Dwayne Haskins for the failure of that team. But when you have an offensive line that cannot protect you, it doesn't make any difference who you put in at quarterback. You know, if he had not been medically cleared to play, then they would not have put him in the game. That leg actually now is stronger because of the metal plate in it than it was prior to being broke. So, I mean, all the trepidation that people may have about him playing because of the horrific injury he suffered 2 years ago, you can forget about that. It's just they need an offensive line in Washington.
Yeah, you look at Alex, he was 9 of 17, 37 yards. His first action since 2018, and that was in the second half. He broke the fibula and the tibia in his right leg. It's amazing. It's just a nice, man, medical science is amazing. If people lose the Affordable Care Act because they want to get Amy Coney Barrett sworn in as the next Supreme Court justice and they don't have a plan, you think about what happens to people when they go to the hospital. The first thing they ask is, do you have insurance? If you don't have insurance, they can turn you down. Or you're going to get a $50,000 bill. And I don't know what's going to happen with our country, but I hope that doesn't happen. Washington Redskins coach Ron Rivera, our Washington football team coach Ron Rivera, he says that Allen, if he remains healthy, he's going to remain this team starting quarterback, not Hoskins, who threw over 300 yards. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, Ron Rivera likes me, and so this is about relationship. It's not about making the team a winner, and just let you know that the owner made a bad decision when he decided to bring him in. It is that here's a guy who was struggling with more things than just, you know, learning a new football team.
Yeah.
Here it is. He's dealing with cancer, which all your thoughts and prayers go out to him in that aspect.
Yeah.
But he has other things that are bothering him beyond the football. And so he wants to deal with somebody he has a relationship with, not in the best interest of the team, maybe.
Yeah, and that's something that we will see how that plays out. I do wish everybody well. I know Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi was having a conversation about a stimulus bill that is between Democrats and Republicans trying to sign it. I hope that American people have some food on the table and a roof over their head, and everybody still has to get out and vote. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown, and he's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, as we go through another troubling week of COVID-19 and games are being canceled and players are being put in quarantine, we hope that they all can stay safe and healthy. Once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, our doctors, our first responders. You do your best every day to keep America healthy.
Yep, they do their best, and we can too. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. You can follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.